All right, let's dive into something a little unexpected today.
All right.
We're talking about turning food waste.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you heard right.
Interesting.
Food waste in African towns into biofuel that can power economic growth.
Huh.
I know it sounds a little out there,
Yeah.
but stick with us. This is where it gets really interesting.
Well, in growing towns in Africa, there are actually a couple of major problems that this addresses.
Okay.
On the one hand, you've got just massive amounts of organic waste piling up,
Right.
and there aren't really good ways to deal with it.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, energy costs are just sky high,
Yeah, that makes sense.
and it's putting a huge strain on these communities.
So it's almost like we've got like a waste problem,
Yeah.
an energy problem.
Exactly.
And it's like one of those riddles where the answer is right there in front of you.
It is.
So I'm starting to see how this biofuel idea
Yeah.
could be like the missing piece.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, I'm still a little skeptical. How do we actually get from like a pile of banana peels
Right.
to something that can fuel a town?
That's a good question. The key is using small-scale biofuel plants
Okay.
that can be set up right within the communities.
Interesting.
They use a process called anaerobic digestion,
Okay.
where microorganisms break down the organic matter without oxygen.
That's creative.
And this produces biogas, which can then be used as fuel.
Oh, so instead of all that waste going to a landfill and decomposing
Exactly.
and releasing harmful greenhouse gases,
Yes.
we're capturing that energy and putting it right back into the community.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm starting to see the environmental benefits here.
Yeah.
But what about the economics of it all?
Right.
How does this actually like translate into economic growth for people?
Well, the beauty of this is that it's so community-based.
Okay.
You can imagine local residents being trained not only to collect the food waste,
Uh-huh.
but also operate and maintain these plants.
Wow.
So it creates jobs right from the get-go and ensures long-term sustainability.
So then this locally produced biofuel is sold back to the community
Yes.
at a discounted price.
At a much lower price.
I mean, that's got to be a game changer.
Absolutely.
Suddenly families have extra money
Yeah.
because they're not spending as much on energy.
Yeah.
And then that extra money can be reinvested back into the community
Exactly.
for things like education, healthcare, even infrastructure improvements.
Yeah. It creates a really positive feedback loop where everybody benefits.
This model really seems to hit all the right notes.
Yeah, it does.
But I'm curious, are there any potential downsides or challenges that we should be thinking about?
Of course. No solution is perfect.
Right.
While small-scale plants are ideal for local needs,
Yeah.
scaling up to have a wider impact might require working with larger energy providers.
I see.
And that could bring some new challenges in terms of infrastructure and logistics
Oh, yeah.
and, potential economic power dynamics.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just have a good idea. We have to think about long-term sustainability
Absolutely.
and making sure that the benefits are shared by the entire community.
I agree.
It's exciting, and there's a lot of buzz about this model,
There is.
but it's still relatively new.
Yes, very.
And we need more data to understand its full potential and any challenges that might pop up.
That's true.
So we're talking about a potential solution, not a silver bullet,
Exactly.
but it's a solution that holds so much promise,
Yeah.
especially for communities struggling with both waste management and energy poverty.
Right. And the benefits go way beyond just economics.
Okay, let's talk about those environmental benefits then.
Yeah.
We touched on reducing greenhouse gases,
Yeah.
but what other impacts could this have?
Cleaner waste management also means less soil and water contamination,
Right.
which are huge problems with open dumping and burning.
Yeah.
This can lead to better public health and a healthier environment overall.
So less waste in landfills, cleaner air and water, healthier communities. The list goes on and on.
It does.
It's incredible to see how something as simple as food waste can have this huge ripple effect.
It really is.
So we've talked about the challenges, the benefits, the economics, but what does this actually look like in practice?
Good question.
Let's paint a picture for our listeners.
Okay, so imagine a bustling African town just full of life and activity.
Okay.
Local businesses are doing well,
Yeah.
powered by this affordable biofuel that's made right there.
Wow.
Kids are walking to school.
Yeah.
And the schools are well funded thanks to the economic boost from the program.
Amazing.
Families are breathing cleaner air
Wow.
and drinking cleaner water, and everybody's healthier and happier.
That's a powerful image,
It is.
and it's happening right now,
It is. It's happening in communities all across Africa.
and it's just the beginning.
Yeah. This model can be adapted and used in communities all over the world.
Wow.
Anywhere there's food waste and a need for energy.
It's really exciting to think about all the possibilities.
Yeah.
But how do we get from these small successes to wider adoption?
Well, a key factor is awareness.
Okay.
The more people know about this model, the more they'll support it in their own communities.
Right. People need to know that this is a real solution.
Yes.
Not just some far-fetched idea.
Exactly. We need to show the successes, share what we've learned, and get people inspired to take action.
And that's where our listeners come in.
Yes.
We've given them the information, the insights, the inspiration.
Hopefully.
Now it's up to them to decide how they want to contribute.
That's right. And it all starts with recognizing the value in something we usually take for granted.
And that is
our food waste.
So as we wrap up this first part of our deep dives,
I
want to leave our listeners with a question. What if we could actually turn our trash into treasure? What if the solution to some of our biggest challenges was right there under our noses?
I like that.
Or in this case, in our compost bins.
It's a question worth thinking about.
It is.
And the answer might surprise you.
Interesting.
Yeah. Makes you think about what you throw away, right? Like, we're so used to thinking about waste as a problem.
Yeah.
But what if it's like an untapped resource?
It's like a total mind shift. And it reminds me of those articles you sent.
Oh, yeah.
About those other innovative waste management solutions.
Yeah.
Are there any parallels to this biofuel model?
Oh, absolutely. There's this growing movement towards a circular economy.
Interesting.
Where waste is seen as like an input, not an end product.
I see.
Like, think of plastic being recycled into building materials.
Oh, wow.
Or agricultural waste transformed into bioplastics.
Wow.
Even wastewater purified and reused.
So this isn't just an isolated thing.
No, not at all.
It's part of this bigger trend of rethinking how we view waste.
I think so.
And what I find really interesting about this model is its focus on local empowerment.
Right.
It's not about corporations or aid. It's about communities.
Yeah.
Taking control of their own resources.
Absolutely.
And coming up with solutions that work for them.
Yeah. And benefit them directly.
Which brings me to another question I had.
Okay.
You mentioned that scaling up could involve larger energy providers.
Right.
How do we ensure that communities keep that ownership and control?
That's a really good point. It's about finding that balance between external expertise and keeping the community's interests front and center.
Right.
It might involve like setting up really clear partnerships.
Okay.
Or developing community-owned cooperatives or policies that prioritize local benefits.
So it's not just about the tech itself.
No.
It's the social and economic structures that support it.
It is. And making sure that the transition is fair.
Right.
Equitable and inclusive.
I love how this simple idea
Me too.
has sparked this huge conversation.
Yeah.
We're talking about everything from waste management to the future of energy.
That's the power of that systems thinking, seeing how things connect.
Yeah, when we see how seemingly different issues are connected, it opens up new possibilities.
It does.
It makes you realize that the solutions might be simpler than we think.
Sometimes,
It's about taking a step back.
Uh-huh.
And looking at things with fresh eyes.
Like those fruit peels and coffee grounds.
Speaking of which, I could really use a cup of coffee.
Me too.
But before we go any further, I want to touch on something we haven't talked about yet.
Okay.
Education and awareness.
Right. You can have the best solutions in the world.
Yeah.
But if people don't understand them,
exactly,
they won't get adopted.
So how do we bridge that knowledge gap? How do we get people excited about turning their trash into treasure?
Well, I think one way is to focus on the things people can relate to.
Okay.
Like saving money on energy costs.
Right.
Creating jobs, cleaner air. Yeah, it's about making those connections between the concepts and people's everyday lives.
And showing that it works.
And showing success stories.
Showing, not just telling.
Right. And also giving people the knowledge and tools to participate in this transition.
I like these.
Like maybe training on waste separation.
Okay.
Composting, even basic biofuel stuff.
So it's about ownership.
Yes.
Not just a top-down solution.
That's what makes change last.
This has been such an energizing conversation.
It has.
It's inspiring to see all this innovation.
Yeah.
And that even small actions can have a big impact.
It all starts with a shift in perspective.
I agree.
Seeing waste as a resource opens up so many possibilities.
It really is like we've been missing something obvious.
And it's not just about biofuel. you know?
Right.
This whole way of thinking can be used in other areas, too.
I agree.
What other things are we overlooking?
Exactly.
That could be valuable.
That's what I love about this conversation.
Me too.
It's not just about these specific problems.
Right.
It's about a whole new way of looking at the world.
A new mindset.
Exactly.
Going from scarcity to abundance. Like, we actually have what we need to create a good future.
It's about understanding that our choices matter.
Absolutely.
You know, they have consequences, good and bad.
Yeah.
And that we can choose a better path.
And that we're all connected, too.
Right.
What happens in one place affects everyone.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this?
I think it's the power of small actions.
Okay.
Every little choice we make, every habit we change, it all adds up to a more sustainable future.
It's those everyday things.
Yes.
Like using reusable bags.
Yeah.
Composting, supporting businesses that care about sustainability.
They may seem small, but they add up.
They do.
When millions of people do them, it can really make a difference.
So it's not about waiting for someone else to fix it.
No.
Or coming up with some big, complicated solution.
It's about personal responsibility.
Taking responsibility.
Yeah, for our own impact.
And making choices that align with the future we want.
That gives me hope.
Me too. It reminds us that we're not just watching.
Yeah.
We're actively shaping the world.
Exactly.
So to our listeners, what small action can you take today to make a difference?
Maybe it's something you've been putting off. Or something you've never even thought of before.
Just take that first step.
Because even the smallest ripple can become a wave of change.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep making a difference.